In this video, I'll uncover which is better for you, water fasting or dry fasting. Stay tuned. Dry fasting is an ancient religious practice that has been around for many years. Now, one of the things that's become very popular over the past couple of years is intermittent fasting. This has been a trend that has just been really found to help so many people improve their health. With the resurgence of intermittent fasting, along came with it dry fasting. Now, a lot of people found that intermittent fasting worked very well for them, and then they heard that dry fasting can offer them even better results. So the question is that even true? Let's go ahead and talk about, is dry fasting better? Let's unpack this topic as to what it is, what it can do for you, and stick around to the end of this video because we want to really share a couple different experiences that I've seen people come across. So stick around to the end, but before we get started, I'm Dr. Zyrowski and welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, it's a pleasure to have you here. Be sure to hit the notification bell and join our notification community. That way I can help you excel your health and your life. Let's go ahead and talk about this topic of dry fasting. Now, when we talk about dry fasting, we have to make sure that we understand it's different than water fasting. It's two different things. Now, water fasting is going to be like your typical 16-8 intermittent fasting or one meal a day, and you're drinking water during that fasted period. Now, dry fasting is going to be where you are literally doing like the one meal a day or 16-8, and you are not consuming any water, and you're also abstaining from food during this time. So you're basically consuming nothing at all. And so that's dry fasting, but dry fasting is really broken down into a couple other categories. Let's talk about that as to what they are. Now, first, there's the hard dry fast. And the hard dry fast is where you're going to be consuming nothing throughout the day. So you're not consuming any food, you're abstaining from water as well. But one of the things you are also not doing is you're not coming into contact with water. You wouldn't jump in a pool, you wouldn't take a shower, you wouldn't wash your hands, and you wouldn't brush your teeth. You just would not come into contact in any way. That is considered a hard dry fast. Now, there's another type of fasting that's a dry fast, and that is the soft dry fast. Soft dry fast is very similar. The difference is that you would allow yourself to come into contact with water, but you would not be drinking any beverages throughout the day, including water. So once again, it's a dry fast, and you are allowing yourself to come in contact with water, but you're not drinking water. Now, if you've used either of these, let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to know your experience with them. Now, intermittent dry fasting is going to be where you're using one of these methods, but you're using the intermittent fasting style, right? You're doing 16-8 or one meal a day, and you're not drinking water during that time. That's your typical intermittent dry fasting. When we look at most people who are doing dry fasting, this is how they're doing it, right in this category here. When we look at the process of the Muslim religion, where they're going and doing Ramadan, and they're dry fasting from sunrise to sunset, essentially, this is what they're doing right here. Now, there's also prolonged dry fasting, and this is where you're going to do a dry fast for 24 hours or longer. Now, this is a practice that I've seen many people put in the comment section that they've been doing. I've had people tell me that they've done 3-day dry fast. I've even had people say they did a 5-day dry fast. Have you done any prolonged dry fasting? Let me know in the comment section below. Now, there's a couple things that we need to talk about here because we have to be very cautionary when it comes to this topic because, you know, the human body is designed to go for a longer period of time without food, but the human body is not designed to go for a long period of time without water. When we look at much of the research out there, what it tells us is that it can be fatal if we do not consume water for more than 3 days. Biologically, some fatal processes start to occur, and it can be very dangerous. And so, like I said, in the comment section, I've had many people go and tell me they've done extended dry fast, but according to the research, we have to be very careful with anything over 3 days when we talk about dry fasting. When we look at different scenarios where people were stuck out in the wilderness or people were, trapped somewhere without water, in many cases, they were drinking things like their urine, and that's how they survived for a longer period of time. Or they had some sort of strange water source, but it wasn't typically that they were doing nothing at all in dry fasting for any type of extended period of time. So once again, we have to approach this with extreme caution, and we have to be very serious when we go and start implementing processes, different practices like this, because a lot of people see online videos and different blogs, and they decide, hey, I'm going to try this, but it may not be right for you. So you have to be careful. Not all health is created equal. And one person, just because they're doing it, it doesn't mean that you should do it as well. Now let's go ahead and talk about some of the best practices for dry fasting now that we know the different types and we know that we have to proceed with caution. First of all, we want to make sure that we're starting with a water fast. If you're let's say eating an unhealthy diet, let's say you've never fasted before, it's probably not a good idea to jump right into a dry fast. So what we want to do is we want to go and make sure that we start with a water fast, do 16 and 8 water fast, do 1 meal a day water fast, and then once you got that down, you can progress into some sort of dry fasting. Now, we also want to make sure if we want to basically feel the best throughout this process and even get some of the best results, that we're in the state of ketosis going into it. Many people state that when they go and they do dry fasting, they are feeling much, much better if they were in ketosis before going and proceeding forward with that. Now, in this video, I'm saying a lot of people state, because there is not some enormous book of research out there on dry fasting. Very important to understand that. Now, also when we look at dry fasting, there's a couple things to understand about that research, is that when we talk about dry fasting, a lot of the research is done on the process of Ramadan, the Muslim practice, the religious practice, but it's not actually done on checking to see if dry fasting works better than intermittent fasting. And when you look at a lot of those studies about dry fasting and Ramadan, essentially, what they're finding is that, yeah, people lost weight. People had good results in reversing insulin resistance. People had all these amazing results. But we know that intermittent fasting works for all of those same practices, all those different health problems as well. And so when we look at research, we didn't really find any that compared the two. And so if you didn't find any to compare the two and say which one works better, from a research perspective, we don't really know which one is better. Now, what I can tell you is that I've heard a lot of doctors say this, and I've also heard a lot of just, individuals who have used dry fasting state that they feel that they get much better results doing dry fasting versus water fasting. Now, it supposedly helps increase autophagy, as in you're going to actually get better results with autophagy. It helps reduce inflammation to a further extent, supposedly. It helps boost your immune system. It helps get blood sugar under control. A lot of people are saying that they find that it burns far more fat doing dry fasting than water fasting. And then it helps improve brain function, improve blood pressure. So what we're seeing here is that this is many of the same things that regular intermittent fasting works for just fine. Whether you get better results with doing a dry fast, well, like I said, a lot of people are stating that they do, but there's no research out there that's saying that dry fasting is going to work better for you all day long. We have to approach it with caution because we can get problems like dehydration. A lot of different things can come up. And so we need to always make sure that when implementing any health strategy, we're very cautious about it. And typically when doing dry fasting, doing things like 16 and 8, 1 meal a day, dry fasting is going to be far better than doing any type of prolonged dry fast. So anyway, take that into consideration. Put in the comment section below your experience with dry fasting. A lot of people are doing this, seeing great results. I personally don't do this on a regular basis. I like to do water fast, but put in the comment section below. Share your opinion on this. Give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and then be sure to check out this video over here on balancing your electrolytes, because there's nothing that's going to throw your electrolytes off like doing a dry fast. Check it out. With exercise, with OMAD, with keto, we can work on bringing those levels of electrolytes up and feel so much better.